Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be exploring the latest and most surprising details about the murder of Rob Reiner, the Oscar-winning director, and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, in Los Angeles. The latest information suggests that this is more than just a simple tragedy. As investigators dig deeper, the true picture becomes increasingly complex and mysterious. The FBI has tried to conceal many details from the public, but now the truth is gradually emerging, and it's completely different from what you previously knew. Like and subscribe to stay updated on this shocking case. Almost no one knew that Romy Reiner wasn't actually the one who called for help that day. The moment she stepped into the house, her whole body froze as if she had just fallen into an inescapable nightmare. Completely devastated, she was heartbroken to see her father's condition. In fact, it was her companion who triggered the emergency. But even more shocking was the forensic evidence collected afterward, which completely changed the story everyone knew. Confidential sources from a private organization revealed that Jake Reiner's DNA was found near the scene. Everyone still believed Jake had been away that night, but that assertion was now no longer accurate. Investigators began to question, why was Jake there? What was his real motive? These details opened up a completely different dimension, overturning all initial assumptions about the Reiner family tragedy. A source close to the Reiner family revealed to the New York Times that Romy, who lived near her parents' home, went to the Brentwood mansion with her roommate on December 14th after Rob and Michelle's massage therapist failed to show up for an appointment. From the gate, she sensed something was wrong. Part of the reason might be related to Rob's will, worth over $200 million. Could greed be the motive? And what could have happened that even Jake's parents couldn't have imagined? Furthermore, previous private messages and emails revealed that Rob had told friends he didn't feel safe around his son. From the outside, Reiner's house looked perfect, peaceful, the epitome of a quiet Los Angeles neighborhood. But inside, it was a pressure cooker ready to explode. Now, all the buried evidence is being exposed. The truth is gradually coming to light, and it's more disturbing than anyone ever imagined. It all began on Sunday afternoon, December 14th, 2025, when a massage therapist arrived at the mansion for a routine therapy session for Rob and Michelle Reiner. Initially, everything seemed peaceful and quiet, as was typical of the neighborhood. But that was just a facade. The routine visit from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. unexpectedly turned into a nightmare. The massage therapist rang the doorbell, calling Rob and Michelle's names, but there was no response. A chill ran down her spine. She immediately called Romy Reiner, 27, who lived nearby, and that call triggered a series of shocking events that the FBI later reportedly tried to downplay. When Romy arrived, the silence that enveloped the mansion was chilling, as if everything had been prearranged. She walked down the hallway, her hands trembling, hoping it was just a misunderstanding. But as soon as she stepped inside, everything changed completely. What she witnessed left her speechless. Her father, Rob Reiner, lay unconscious on the floor, while her mother and other relatives were in critical condition. According to NBC News on December 17th, the pain was indescribable. The horrific loss Romy and her family experienced was something no one should have witnessed. Her whole body reacted before her brain could process it. She screamed, stumbled backward, and ran outside in a state of absolute terror. Investigators later discovered that these findings would shake Hollywood. Leaked forensic reports showed Jake Reiner's DNA was found near where his father's body was discovered, even though it was previously believed Jake had left town that night. The FBI kept this finding secret for weeks to verify it, but sources revealed they knew about it early on. This evidence could change the entire story and raise new questions about motives, opportunities, and family relationships. Meanwhile, Romy was completely unaware that her mother, Michelle, had also been found in another area of the mansion. The scene looked so meticulously cleaned up, almost unbelievably perfect, that it only fueled investigators' suspicions about who was truly behind it all. How long had the truth been buried? And ultimately, if Romy wasn't the one who called 911, then who did? This small detail could unlock the entire mystery within Brentwood Manor, unfolding a story far more complex than anyone could have imagined. According to leaked information, the 911 call wasn't actually from Romy Reiner, but from her close friend, the very person who had accompanied her to the house that day. He wasn't just an acquaintance. He had been with Romy, working with her on numerous projects and becoming an inseparable part of her daily life. When they arrived at the RER mansion, everything happened in seconds. Romy went in first, and what she saw left her completely stunned, paralyzed by shock. Her body almost stopped reacting, her mind powerless against the horrific reality. She stumbled backward, ran outside, and burst into tears in utter panic. At that moment, her friend acted instinctively, grabbing the phone and calling 911 immediately, without hesitation or confusion, a purely human reaction to an emergency. Oddly, some online commentators attempted to distort this detail, claiming it was suspicious or premeditated. However, sources close to the investigation assert that this is completely false. Moments of extreme emotional shock can cause the brain to temporarily shut down. Logic disappears. The body reacts only instinctively, not out of guilt, not to conceal, but as a natural human reaction. However, the FBI reportedly hesitated to release the entire recording urgently, leading many to question, what else is being kept secret? Why was information that could exonerate Romy delayed? This raises the question of whether someone doesn't want the whole truth to be revealed. In fact, many still believe Romy discovered both her parents that afternoon. But the truth is quite different. She only met her father at that time. News of her mother came hours later, when police had already sealed off the scene and begun their investigation. The true story was far more heartbreaking, and this may explain why the FBI wanted to keep certain details secret. Romy didn't just experience emotional shock. She faced 2 consecutive shocks, the sight of her father unconscious, and then, hours later, the discovery of her mother. This is why the role of her partner, Alex Silberg, became so crucial. Alex wasn't just a random friend. He had a close relationship with Romy, having lived near her, worked with her, and traveled with her. He was someone she completely trusted, present in her creative life. At the time, Romy and Alex were pouring all their energy into a short film project, with her as the lead actress and him as the director. They spent almost every day together, building scenes, editing the script, and developing ideas. People around them often gossiped about their close relationship, but Romy never publicly acknowledged it. Their bond was based on trust, loyalty, and shared dreams, transcending ordinary friendship. And when the shocking truth was revealed, Romy became the center of a situation no one could have imagined she could handle. She lived just a few blocks away and was the only family member near the scene at the time. Investigators immediately asked the familiar questions. Who entered first? Who made the phone call? Who touched what? On paper, it was just routine procedure, but their attitude changed rapidly as new evidence emerged. The FBI got involved. According to leaked internal information, some of the initial witness notes and images had disappeared from the files, raising concerns that someone didn't want the whole affair to be made public. With new forensic data linking Jake Reiner to the scene, people begin to wonder, was Romy questioned as a diversion? Or could the real suspect from the start be the person everyone least suspected? In those initial moments of tension and chaos, Alex Silberg's role became incredibly crucial. The critical situation seemed to have been orchestrated by fate, as if he were there for some reason. His quick thinking and composure completely altered the course of events. Without his immediate 911 call, without him standing by Romy's side as she broke down, things could have descended into utter chaos. When Romy entered the house and discovered her father's body, she nearly collapsed. In fact, she hadn't seen her mother. News of her death was only delivered hours later by a paramedic. Alex's composure under pressure not only comforted Romy, but also shaped the investigation from the outset. He wasn't just an ordinary witness. He became the sole crucial witness, the one who could fill in the gaps regarding Romy's timing, location, and reaction before arriving at the mansion. Alex's detailed testimony painted a clear timeline, consistent with the physical evidence, providing crucial clues for investigators when everything else was ambiguous. Remarkably, according to internal sources, the FBI was initially hesitant to acknowledge his role, possibly because it contradicted an initial hypothesis they were unwilling to change. But when his testimony was compared with timestamps, call logs, and security camera footage, the truth became undeniable. Romy could not and did not participate in what happened. Alex's presence not only protected Romy's reputation, it also prevented the truth from being buried under rumors and misinformation. He described everything vividly, from the moment Romy collapsed to the floor, screaming in shock, to her inability to believe her eyes at the shocking and heartbreaking scene. Without his timely intervention, the story could have taken a dangerous turn. Rumors and misinformation could have spread and distorted the truth to an unrecognizable extent. Alex became a steadfast anchor amidst the storm of chaos. He was Romy's emotional support as her world crumbled. While her brother Nick gradually distanced himself, avoiding public appearances and constantly changing jobs, Romy tried to stand her ground, continuing her work, attending film screenings, and clinging to the future. The silent contrast between the two siblings spoke louder than any words. In every sleepless night, with every new headline and rumor, Alex was always there for her, a shield protecting Romy from being overwhelmed by the chaos. For many who witnessed it, his presence was not just comfort, but a matter of survival. When everything falls apart, the true nature of those around us is revealed. In Romy's case, Alex's loyalty was more than just friendship. It was proof that there were still people who believed in her when the whole world seemed to turn its back on her. Despite public opinion and online comments spreading all sorts of rumors, Romy never singled out her brother Nick as a suspect. Not once. And thanks to Alex, the truth gradually emerged, allowing everyone to see exactly what happened during those tragic moments. From the outset, misinformation spread faster than any official update. Blogs, tabloids, and social media began making claims that Romy Reiner had asked the police to investigate her brother, but the official record was completely different. When police and paramedics arrived at Brentwood Mansion, Romy didn't accuse anyone. She simply provided details about the people living in the house and the layout. She did mention that Nick had been on the family property, but that was it. No accusations, no speculation, just the facts. Those close to the Reiner family emphasized, they were not only our parents, but also our closest friends. We are grateful for all the support, condolences, and kindness from all walks of life. Now, we ask for respect and privacy, and we hope that all speculation will be tempered with compassion so that our parents may be remembered for their extraordinary lives and the love they gave. However, those statements were distorted, turning into headlines that led the public to believe Romy was blaming her brother. This misrepresentation contributed to burying the truth. The real question the FBI supposedly didn't want exposed was, where was Jake Reiner that night? Where was his DNA found? And was it related to the crime scene? While the world debated the false rumors, insiders asserted that the investigation had quietly diverted attention away from Jake, delaying the release of the forensic reports for weeks. As the truth gradually emerged, it became clear that someone inside didn't want the Reiner family's secrets to leak out. When investigators first spoke with Romy, her voice spoke volumes. In a state of shock, she clung to reality by focusing on whatever facts she could grasp. Moments like these send the brain into pure survival mode, devoid of blame or strategy. Romy wasn't accusing anyone. She was simply trying to piece together a perplexing nightmare. Gradually, accurate information began to surface amidst the uproar. Major media outlets, the New York Times, The Guardian, The Independent, and numerous others, confirmed that Romy Reiner had never directed police to consider her brother a suspect. From the very first hours, she provided investigators with only basic information about the house, her parents, and the family's daily routine. That alone shattered one of the biggest lies the public had ever heard about her role in the case. Those close to her also confirmed that Romy never accused anyone. She was shocked, not suspicious. When Nick Reiner was arrested that evening near Exhibition Park, it wasn't because of anything Romy said. That decision stemmed directly from Leeds and the authorities' decision. She had no evidence related to the arrest, but by then, the damage had been done. Rumors spread like wildfire on social media, distorting the truth. Every quote, every tear from Romy was turned into incriminating evidence. Headlines cared only for clicks, not the truth. Romy, already devastated by the loss of her parents, became an easy target for those seeking to criticize her. Her silence was misinterpreted as suspicion. Every photograph, every public appearance was scrutinized as if she were hiding something. This was a complete media drama, which experts believe may have been orchestrated to distract public attention from the FBI's secret findings on Jake's DNA. Internal sources suggest that public attention was deliberately diverted to Nick and Romy to lessen the pressure on Jake until the forensic reports quietly leaked months later. And if that's true, it proves Romy's complete innocence. She was simply grieving, unwittingly caught up in a cover-up bigger than anyone ever imagined. Perhaps that's the real pain. What's remarkable isn't just what happened, but how the shock impacted the human mind. When Romy entered that house, everything she knew about her world crumbled in an instant. And as her mind wandered to her brother Nick, in that moment, she didn't see a single suspect. Their son, 32-year-old Nick Reiner, has been arrested and charged in connection with the murder of his parents and is currently in custody. But for Romy, seeing her brother, the man she grew up with, the one with whom she shared every childhood memory, every family dinner filled with laughter, involved in an unimaginable tragedy, is almost impossible to accept. The truth is, the Reiner family had witnessed Nick through difficult times. There were hardships, heated arguments, but never any indication of anything this extreme. So Romy's reaction is entirely understandable. It's not blind denial, but a clash of pain and disbelief. Her mind cannot accept the possibility that the person she loves could be involved in such a mess. When questioned by police, she exclaimed, "I can't believe that the person I love could be involved in this mess." She wasn't trying to manipulate or hide anything. She was simply trying to get through the most traumatic moment of her life. Her trembling voice, her rambling words, her tears weren't a strategy, but instinct. Romy was trapped in an unimaginable tragedy, struggling to maintain composure in a seemingly never-ending nightmare. She was only providing the officers with small details to help them understand the timeline. The night before, the family had had a small gathering at Conan's house, where her parents and Nick were both present. That was it. Nothing more, nothing less. But the next day, when the police suddenly raided and arrested Nick, Romy was completely taken by surprise. A second wave of loss hit her. She had just lost her parents, and now she was taken away, her only brother. And just when things seemed to be getting worse, everything became even more tragic. Leaked internal reports reveal that while Nick was in custody, new forensic findings linking Jake Reiner, his other brother, to the house emerged, completely overturning the case. This raises a chilling question. Was the innocent man blamed all along, while the FBI concealed the real evidence? Romy Reiner is torn between two pains: the loss of her parents and the breakdown of the relationship she once trusted completely with Nick. The man connected to every childhood memory, every family vacation, every private story. The two losses intertwine, each pain deepening the other. Every photograph, every familiar scent, every memory of the Brentwood mansion now evokes an irreparable breakdown. But even more terrifying is the dark truth beginning to surface. Behind the glamorous, peaceful facade of the Reiner house, the situation had been unstable for years. From the outside, the mansion looks perfect, with its tall gates and meticulously manicured gardens, but inside, a silent storm has been brewing for over a decade. According to sources close to the family, tensions between Nick and his parents have been simmering for a long time. Silent arguments, sleepless nights, occasional late-night shouting, unexpected visits from private security, and calls to local authorities all reveal a deep struggle the family tries to keep private. The multi-million-dollar estate, once intended to be a warm and creative home, has gradually transformed into a pressure cooker, where everyone walks on eggshells, trying to pretend everything is okay when it really isn't. All this tension, combined with Romy's grief, Nick's oppressive silence, and new forensic clues, creates a chaotic, heartbreaking, and chilling story. On the same day, Nick Reiner is scheduled to appear in court for the first time, pleading guilty or not guilty, facing 2 first-degree murder charges related to the deaths of his parents. But with each new piece of information revealed about Jake, the case becomes more complicated, leaving Romy grappling with a double blow, caught between the pain of her family and the unfolding truth. Authorities believe Rob and Michelle were murdered sometime in the early hours of December 14th at their home in Brentwood, California. Their bodies were discovered hours later. And while the world saw a seemingly peaceful, successful Hollywood family, the truth was quite different. The Reiner family had tried to keep things stable through silence, fear, and hope that things wouldn't fall apart. But ultimately, everything did. Now, with forensic evidence linking Jake Reiner to the case, investigators are beginning to question whether the tensions within that house were more than just emotional, but part of a larger story, a secret the FBI seemed to have been trying to conceal for years. Each time the red and green lights of the patrol car flashed past the white gates of the Reiner mansion, an eerie silence spoke volumes. The peace within that house was slipping away rapidly. Each police visit became an invisible crack in the image of the perfect family, a silent reminder that behind those high walls, something was amiss. The world saw the dream house of Hollywood, but in reality it was a family slowly crumbling. In fact, the first recorded incident occurred in August 2013. Just after dawn, police arrived to check on a member of the Reiner family, someone feared to be in danger. 6 months later, neighbors heard violent crashing sounds and screams echoing from the mansion late at night. But when the police arrived, everything was quiet again as if nothing had happened. These unsettling visits became routine, marking the initial signs of the storm that would eventually engulf the Reiner family. By 2017, things had taken a turn for the worse. On May 5th, an official Los Angeles Police Department file, coded BFV Invest, signaled a serious internal disturbance requiring intervention. This entry became a turning point, proving that what was happening inside Reiner went far beyond ordinary family tension or arguments. These documents were sealed and never released. But according to leaked information, the FBI had been quietly monitoring the family situation around that time. From then on, the Reiner family home was no longer just a private residence. It became a pressure zone. Neighbors saw ambulances coming and going, while the family tried to keep quiet to protect Rob Reiner's public image. But that illusion couldn't last forever. By 2025, the cracks could no longer be concealed. New forensic evidence linking Jake Reiner to the case has led to questions. Did the simmering chaos within the house lead to something the FBI knew but chose not to disclose? The situation didn't improve. It only worsened. By 2019, the Reiner mansion had become a familiar stop for Los Angeles police. Mental health checks and concerns about Nick Reiner were regular, but little action was taken. Each time a police car flashed past the gate, it was a warning signal, a reminder that the peace was just a facade. Nick was accused of stabbing his parents to death with a deadly weapon, a knife, according to his lawyer and official records. But behind that accusation lay a long chain of simmering mysteries, a family that had tried to hide its fears and anxieties within its impenetrable walls, where the Hollywood spotlight couldn't reach. Officials said 32-year-old Nick Reiner fled the scene shortly after his parents were murdered, but was found and arrested near the University of Southern California just 6 hours later. Inside the Brentwood mansion, the tension never truly subsided. It didn't disappear. It just moved silently, waiting for a spark to ignite everything. Close family friends said that simply stepping into the estate, you could sense the unease. Sometimes it manifested in small arguments, slammed doors, or echoing sounds from the marble hallway in the middle of the night. Neighbors recounted seeing Nick pacing alone down the front porch, head bowed in contemplation, completely detached from reality. These small moments painted a haunting picture of what was truly happening inside, a silent, slow collapse that no one wanted to acknowledge. And then, when the latest leaks revealed Jake Reiner's DNA at the scene years later, public opinion began to question. Was the chaos inside this house random, or part of a plan the FBI had been secretly monitoring for a long time? Rob and Michelle Reiner had lived in fear for years. They learned to sleep lightly, listen to every sound at night, try to smile through their fear just to maintain the illusion of a normal life. But deep down, they both knew something was about to happen, just didn't know when. December 14th, 2025 arrived, and all the silent warnings came true. Every 911 call, every police patrol, every worried whisper from neighbors, all pieces of the same puzzle the Reiner family had been silently sending out for years. But no one realized the gravity of the situation until tragedy struck. The magnificent Brentwood mansion, once filled with warmth, Sunday dinners, and resounding laughter, has become a symbol of everything that went wrong. The towering white walls and meticulously manicured garden are now haunting reminders of how fear can silently take over a family. Even more shocking are the leaked testimonies from close friends. Rob and Michelle had confided in each other that they were afraid of Nick. Initially dismissed as normal parental anxiety, the words now carry an unsettling, haunting weight. Furthermore, Rob had begun updating his will, transferring assets worth over $200 million, and both Nick and Jake were aware of this. Investigators are now asking, were anxieties about safety, property, or family fortune the root cause of the tragedy? For years, Nick lived just steps away in the family's guest house with free rent, plenty of food, and a steady $10,000 monthly allowance. Rob and Michelle wanted to keep him close, not to control him, but to protect him and watch for signs of instability. But even this concern became a tense form of surveillance, further fueling a silent instability. Even an old clip recently reposted shows Nick telling a friend, "Maybe you're going crazy. I go crazy too." The words were once dismissed, but now, given what followed, They sound like a warning that went unnoticed until it was too late. That day, the silence, the fear, and the warning signs converged into tragedy, transforming the dream Hollywood home into a haunted place where fear consumed everything the family had once believed to be safe. Rob and Michelle Reiner spent years doing everything they could to protect their son and preserve their family. They patiently, understandingly, and resolutely helped Nick navigate his hardest times, his mental breakdowns, his confusions, and his unpredictable behavior. They truly believed that love and support could mend broken pieces. But at that time, Nick's situation had become incredibly complex. He had undergone more than 10 treatment programs and was known to have multiple serious mental health issues. Even so, his parents never stopped hoping that one day he would find stability. They had witnessed his periods of despair, destruction, withdrawal from friends, even brief disappearances. But they also saw other sides of him, a cheerful, creative person who always wanted to do better. They held on to that image of Nick in their hearts. Friends who once lived at the Reiner estate recount that the house was still filled with warmth, dinners, hearty laughter, and the characteristic charm of family. It seemed love had triumphed over chaos. But reality was far more complex. Jake Reiner's DNA began to surface, raising questions about who was truly present and responsible for the fateful events. The FBI had been quietly monitoring the simmering tension within the Brentwood house for a long time, and what followed was haunting. Just 3 months before everything collapsed on December 14, 2025, the entire Reiner family was still in public, walking the red carpet at the premiere of This Is Spinal Tap 2. Cameras flashed, fans cheered, and the family members looked perfect, beaming with smiles. But behind those smiles lay a fragile, crumbling foundation. That night, at the Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles, a ceremony honoring Rob's legacy took place. Rob, Michelle, Nick, Jake, and Romy stood close together, posing for the cameras. To outsiders, they appeared a perfect family, but as we know, it was also their last public appearance. Behind the scenes, however, things were quite different. Fear had taken hold. Family members revealed that Rob and Michelle had begun quietly telling friends they were afraid of Nick, viewing him as a ticking time bomb. On December 14th, everything changed. Rob and Michelle reportedly decided to take Nick to a private party hosted by Conan O'Brien, an event they hoped would help him feel calm and fit in. The event was lavish, with dazzling lights, soothing jazz music, and guests in glittering suits and gowns. But amidst that atmosphere, 32-year-old Nick Reiner stood out in his own way, wearing a silver gray hoodie, hood pulled low, vacant eyes, a pale face, and a tense demeanor. He was almost completely out of place, staring into space, almost invisible. Some say he left early, disappearing before the event concluded. Now, Jake Reiner's DNA is believed to be linked to the scene. This raises the chilling question, did Nick really leave early, or was someone else operating in the shadows that night while the FBI remained silent about what they knew? These clues paint a more complex and frightening picture of what really happened at the Brentwood estate. Nick Reiner wasn't even invited to Conan O'Brien's Christmas party that night, but Rob and Michelle called him directly to ask if he could join. Conan, with his usual kind nature, readily agreed. Everyone thought it was just a relaxing, fun evening with friends, but the moment Nick walked through the door, the atmosphere in the room instantly changed. Witnesses recounted that Nick walked silently, hands in his pockets, hood pulled low, completely detached from everyone else. While the guests chatted animatedly, he smirked, moved like a ghost, remained silent, and avoided eye contact, even with his parents. Rob tried to strike up a conversation several times, but Nick only nodded or mumbled a few words before quietly leaving. The distance was so obvious that everyone began to sense something was amiss. The party was glamorous, full of actors, producers, and big names. But around Nick, the atmosphere became heavy and unsettling. He wasn't angry or loud. His body was present, but his mind seemed to wander. Later, guests reported feeling a subtle, strange tension, which they didn't understand at the time, but which lingered. As the night progressed, Nick's behavior became increasingly unsettling. He wandered between groups, interrupting conversations with a repeated question. "Are you famous?" His voice was monotonous, his eyes empty, his expression rigid. When people answered, he would stare for a few seconds, nod, and then leave, leaving behind an awkward silence. He lingered too close to small groups, making everyone feel watched. One producer said that when Nick looked at them, it felt like a chill ran down their spines. As the night deepened, Nick resembled a ghost drifting through the large living room. He didn't touch the food or drink, didn't participate in the conversation, didn't smile. His silent presence caused the cheerful atmosphere to gradually crumble. The conversations grew brief, the laughter faded, and anxious glances began to be exchanged. Finally, Rob Reiner could take it no longer. His voice, like a clap of thunder in the room, boomed amidst the chatter. He yelled for Nick to stop so as not to disturb everyone. The sound echoed through the glittering room, drawing all eyes to the center, where father and son stood staring at each other. Michelle rushed forward, trying to calm them both, but they seemed unheard. The tension was thick, like witnessing a storm brewing that no one could stop. Within minutes, the family decided to leave. They walked silently outside, their faces pale, not a word spoken. The warm atmosphere of the party was replaced by a chilling silence that stretched all the way to the gate. Under the shimmering Christmas lights, the scene was tragic, and few knew that just hours later, tragedy would strike. With Jake Reiner's DNA later found to be linked to the investigation, everyone was left wondering, was Nick's strange behavior that night merely a coincidence? Or did it reveal a larger truth, one the FBI knew but kept silent about? Looking back, those moments seemed to foreshadow an impending storm at Brentwood Manor, a silently brewing secret the world was unaware of. As dawn broke over Los Angeles on December 15, 2025, the world began buzzing about the Reiner family. The once untouchable Hollywood family had become the focus of one of the most mysterious cases in recent times. Each new leak, each strange development, only made the truth seem further away instead of closer. Forensic experts asserted that Jake Reiner's DNA found at the crime scene was unusual. Its discovery overturned all previous theories. But why the DNA was there remained an unanswered question. Some believed the FBI knew more than they had revealed, possibly concealing crucial evidence. Others suggested the truth was even darker, involving not only family tensions but also money, inheritance, and secrets buried deep beneath years of silence. Each official statement seemed to contradict the previous one. Files were lost. Witnesses refused to comment. And just when one mystery seemed solved, another immediately arose. Jake's true location? Was Nick framed, or was it all true? Was the whole story being manipulated by forces unwilling to reveal the truth? No one knew for sure. Yes, and perhaps that was the problem. Even now, insiders kept surfacing, hinting that deeper truths remained buried beneath layers of silence, that some powerful figure might be pulling the strings behind the scenes. Reiner Manor stood there empty, silent, almost frozen in time. But those who had witnessed it knew the story was far from over. Whatever really happened inside Brentwood House, one thing was certain: nothing made sense. The more details are revealed, the more one senses that the truth is still hidden right before their eyes. So, what do you think happened that night? Was Jake's DNA just a coincidence, or a clue the FBI didn't want anyone to discover? Was it fear, or simply luck? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The story continues. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want to follow the next developments.